studios, and I thought, this is it. I'm gonna pursue a career in 3D. And then after I graduated, I realized I hated working as a 3D artist. And fighting with that software and all that stuff. I wasn't technically minded to troubleshoot the issues. I needed to be able to if I was really gonna go anywhere with that career. So I pivoted into 2D, which had always been a passion of mine. And I did that for a couple of years before realizing that my ability to bring people together, take opportunities, and run with it translated really well into directing. So I ended up doing that for 5 years in New York City, directing spots for Nickelodeon and NBA. And then I was feeling a little burnt out from directing because it is hard work, and I wanted a break from that all. And I had always been passionate about helping others, teaching, volunteering with WIA, sharing knowledge with everybody. So when the recruiter opportunity came up, I pivoted yet again into that. And each time I pivoted, I made sure to rebrand myself, get new portfolio samples relevant to the job that I wanted to do, and put myself out there. So everything that I'm putting into this presentation today, I hope that'll be useful to you wherever you are in your journey.
Hi, I am currently a fourth-year student at San Jose State University, and 218. And I also happen to be the recruiting assistant here. I started out last year as a recruiting intern. I'm also focusing in visual development at school, but I'm like trying to get out there and explore new things. And then after my internship experience, I found that I really enjoyed it, so Ellen brought me on as her assistant.
She's being humble. She was a rock star. She makes my life possible at Titmouse.
But this also means that I get this cool perspective of being someone who's both a recruiter and someone who's still in school. So I know what it's like to be a student. I know what it's like to be dead during finals and do group projects, right? So I get to share these internship experience stuff, and then portfolio tips and any school advice for younger upcoming artists.
All right, so let's get started. The quick intro of or the big question is, what do I need to get a job in animation? And the first thing I want you all to remember is that animation is a skill-based industry. And most of the time, skilled, relevant artwork can sometimes equate work experience for entry-level positions. Okay, if you don't have experience and you're applying to be a director, sorry, you're gonna need experience for that. But let's say you're applying for background design, character design, whatever. Sorry, backing up, the example I like to give is people that maybe worked on Big Mouth for 5 years as character designers might not have the skill or relevant artwork to work on Legend of Vox Machina. So really, when we're looking to hire for these shows, we're looking at your portfolio. So remember that. And then important terms to keep in mind is easy access and searchable keywords like hashtags, wherever you're organizing your information, submitting your application. And the answer to can you do X should be on the first page we see. So whether that's character design, prop design, animation, whatever it is, it needs to be on that first landing page, even not considering scrolling down, right? Landing page. And one of my favorite examples for character designs is Micah Sheriff. So she has everything that I need to see immediately right at the top. It's her best work. And some of the things that you're gonna see first is a character turnaround. So if you wanna do character, is somebody kicking? Is that a building situation? Okay. All right, AC, great. Sorry. So character turnarounds, if you want to work in 2D episodic animation, you have to have that. So she has that right there. Draw your characters from a 5-point turn, so that's front, side, quarter, et cetera, et cetera. We're looking at solid anatomy and structure, and because you're working in 2D animation, the character designer is the blueprint. You have to be technically correct when your character is turning around, right? So does everything line up? Or are your eye lines shifting? Are your hands suddenly larger in one angle than another? Those are the technical things that people are gonna see and catch. So make sure that when you're doing your turnaround, it's technically sound. And then another assignment that not a lot of people are familiar with is the character redress. So something a junior character assistant might be doing is taking an existing turnaround and for a special episode, giving them a new uniform, a new hairstyle, new makeup, And then that's a little bit easier if you're still working on anatomy, that you can work off of the existing design. And you're trying to match style, match line weight, etc. Another thing you might see a character designer do are special poses. So if your character transforms, what do those look like? Think about, like, when you're on the job, what will you need to give information-wise to the team after you? So the animation department, if you have a transformation of wings, will need to know how those wings grow. If a character implodes, you will also need to show that to the later departments, right? So you are designing those points. That is that information. I would say that naming yourself on your website is important. Here's an example of Danny Schwartz. He's going to be here. He's very, very talented. Check out his booth. But one of the things that I run into when I'm presenting his work, his website, to art directors, creative directors, they're like, oh, he's an illustrator. He can't really draw for animation. And that's because he's branding himself as an illustrator. His landing page is illustration and not 2D animation. So think about what your goals are and make sure that, you know, the website you apply with is true to those goals. Help us make it easy to sell you to the team.
So if you want to be a character designer, maybe you should look into having some props too, because character design is a pretty competitive field. You are not always guaranteed to land that like dream character designer job just right off the bat. So expanding into other similar fields such as prop design is a great way to increase your hiring potential. So in a prop designer portfolio, prop turnarounds are absolutely necessary, just like characters. We want to see you draw your prop from just various other angles as well, and not just an orthographic rotation. We want to see that you know the structure of your prop, that you have a solid understanding of what makes it up, how it looks from all these different types of like angles and views. And then the mark of a solid prop designer is someone who can usually design complex mechanical objects such as cars, airplanes, sci-fi, fantasy, guns, whatever you like on those realms. And then props also tell a story. Think about the storytelling behind your object. Is there a special angle that this prop will be viewed at during like this dramatic scene, or does this prop break and transform? Answering these questions in your portfolio show that you understand the job responsibilities of being a prop designer. And then sometimes we're looking specifically for prop designers that have graphic design sensibilities. So props that showcase cool typography or like packaging designs. We need props with like text on it, like these VHS tapes and that like chalkboard up top. So we're looking for props that can have text that match the style of the show. And then effects designs also fall under props. Different shows have obviously different effect styles. You can have a more like graphic, vector-based, and lineless style of effects designs on the left, and then a more like detailed, line-heavy style on the right. But both of these answer the question of like, how does this water effects drip, or how does this explosion cloud disperse? Think about what information you can give to the animation team as a prop designer. And then Bridget Orr, her prop design portfolio is honestly great because it is simple and clean, and it has this nice grid format where there's a variety of props in different styles. So this 3x3 grid format she has here, that means there's 9 chances for her to catch my eye just right off the bat, because this is just when I land on her page. And the thumbnails aren't too big, they're not too small, they're just like the perfect size. I can like tell that, oh, this prop is like a saxophone or something, right? I can just see it right off the bat, and there's just grabs my eye immediately. And then let's talk about backgrounds. A background designer designs the key images at the beginning of production. So they're generally a senior artist or a art director or just someone with a very unique voice. So we're usually looking for someone with solid technical skills. They need to be able to set dress properly, and that they can tell a strong story through their background designs. On the other hand, this can get a little confusing between studios, but a background layout artist is usually the person that draws the various angles of an interior or an exterior based off of that key background design from the background designer. And this is done, layout artists need like an excellent understanding of perspectives and the ability to draw clean lines. And then if you have knowledge of 3D skills, that is always a bonus. You can't go wrong with that. If you can use 3D software like Maya or SketchUp or Blender, we want you to showcase that with these kind of behind-the-scenes process images of how you're translating those 3D scenes that you built into your own artwork. And you don't need to be a pro. I am not a pro either, but I can, I can make some cubes in Maya. It's pretty nice. And then I will stack them together and build a little scene. It's cute, and you can show that in your portfolio, and that's it's good enough for me. And then for background painters, we're looking to see if you can evoke a sense of emotions or moods through your sense of color, and then can you create multiple lighting scenarios for one location, whether it's daytime or nighttime for the same kind of scene. And then there are many different ways to obviously paint a background. There's styles, right? Whether it's a watercolor style or a flat color style that you usually see in adult comedy shows, or this hard-edged vector style that's sharp and crisp and very graphic. What kind of painter are you? If you have range, showcase it, and if you don't, that is also fine. We want you to just then focus on mastering that one style. And then color designers. So again, this can mean different things at different studios, but for us, when we're generally looking for color designers, you're asked to color characters, props, and effects. So in a color design portfolio, you would then have you want to showcase your ability to create color palettes in that match the show style, and then the setting of wherever your assigned characters or props are. You can also be tasked with designing shadow shapes for your characters in a scene, and this artist, Victoria Thornberry, has great samples.
All right. Storyboard artists. If you want to be a storyboard artist, one of my favorite examples is Sarah Vittori, and you have to have what I call the click-through boards. So she's using a platform called Speaker Deck, and you can notice as I'm clicking through, the video kind of plays through, it plays out, and you can see it move, right? And I get to control, if I need to go back to a scene, I can control that. Sometimes I see storyboard portfolios that are PDF slides that I have to slide through that don't really allow me to kind of watch this whole thing play out seamlessly. Sometimes I see animatics that are really, really poorly timed, and I don't have the time to sit through 10 minutes of an animatic. So having the click-through boards allows me to control how quickly or slowly I want to go through things. I also like how she kind of has the slideshows right below, which is the big swaths of pages, if I wanted to just get through the story quickly after watching a couple frames in the click-through boards. If you do background design or characters, or you want to share your process, she has that slideshow below that you can all package it all neatly into one section. And I love that she is showcasing not only these big, several hundred frame boards, but she has tiny little moments. So every fantastic storyboard artist that I see are able to tell stories in 4 to 8 frames. And you can kind of feel that, just from this little assignment that she shares. When we were my fellow story interns at Pixar, they always challenged them with tell a story in 4 frames, convey an emotion in 1 frame, right? That's the kind of stuff that you have to practice. So yeah, Sarah Vittori, check out her website as an example, and awesome. And then on the subject of animatic editor, again, if you don't have well-timed animatics, just don't include them. It's not necessary. But if you do, it's professionally timed, great. And then I also want to encourage everyone to consider editing as a actual career. That was something I was never taught in school, because not everyone can be an animator, and not everyone wants to be a storyboard artist. But if you love story, if you love timing, editing is a career path for you. And what you need to know is how to use Premiere. You have to kind of be able to record your own scratch dialogue, which is very easy. Everybody has a microphone in their phones, right? You can perform something, cut it up, time it out. There's lots of resources to get free sounds like explosions or crashes, etc., and build that scratch sound design for your animatics as well. And work with great storyboard artists. Ask around, say, hey, I love your work. I'd love to time it out. Can I use this as my portfolio example? Job titles to look for if you're looking to break into editorial is assistant editor is the base one. And then There's dialogue editors which focus on the radio play, so it's kind of like an audiobook, right? Just the cutting up the performance. Animatic editors cut up boards and work with the radio play. And then editors kind of do everything from the front end to the beginning, and that's the big title. That's your senior role. Here is an example of an animatic. Okay, the sound doesn't work, but you can see it.
You can imagine.
Loading. All right. You get it. Storyboards to final animation. Timing is pretty solid. You might do some camera moves and zooms, etc., cutting up things. But yeah. All right. And then animation. If there are any people looking to make a career in animation, you will need an animation reel. Any reel that you make, the main thing is start with your very best work first. We've seen a lot of reels that start with the oldest work and they add the newest work at the end. I'm just gonna say, a lot of people that I've seen review reels, they will skip past the title card, look at the first reel, skip to the middle, and then if those two don't work out, they're gonna move on to the next one. So make sure that, again, first impressions, start with your strongest thing. Don't put weak stuff or like rough stuff into your reel just to fill it out and pad out the time. I've seen people get hired on 3 shots, like 3 high quality shots. So really it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And then don't worry about the music. When I started, I wanted to like cut my reel to like match the music that I selected with a lot of care, really carefully. And I ended up putting a lot of shots that I wasn't actually proud of, that wasn't great, just to make a nice music video, and that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for, if you're a good animator. So, yeah. Make sure that you include descriptions, so like what programs you might have used, what role you had if it was a group project. Some of the things I like to recommend to students starting out is, if your foundational animation skills aren't solid yet, what you could do is reach out to animators, professional animators you really admire, check out their rough animation, and ask, hey, can I clean up your rough animation to final line colors and all of that stuff? Because you do have assistant animator roles that are just like cleaning up animation and coloring animation. So the other side to that is I see a lot of student reels that only have rough animation and nothing finished. And that's not great either, because we're likely not hiring you to be the key animator. We're going to give that role to somebody senior. But for Titmouse, we do expect our animators to start to take everything from beginning to end for most projects. So make sure you have some completed animation in your reels. And then finally, After Effects Compositor. That's another thing that I feel like not a lot of people think about. But if you are somebody who loves to plus up animation to make it look freaking amazing, color edit, vignettes, add those little effects and make it dazzling, think about compositing. And for 2D animation generally, we use After Effects. Sometimes we use Harmony these days. For 3D animation, it's Nuke really. But compositing is all about taking animation, final background art, any kind of effects, and put it all together and make it look beautiful. So here's an example from Cyberpunk, which is like you can really tell the difference of plussing something up, right, to make it look fantastic. And here's some more examples of before and after. Sometimes After Effects compositors can do effects as well, a little bit of simulation effects in After Effects, or using Flash themselves. And yeah, it's the vignettes, it's the glows, it's the light, it's adding a little zoom or blurring the depth of fields, all of that stuff. And yeah, making everything look 100 times more expensive than it does. And compositors, so we like to see breakdowns, and this is an example. So this is showing a raw animation and then all the edits that they've done. So they might include like shadow, so they're actually adding the shadow layer themselves, on the character and on the ground. They're animating some motion graphics of stars, camera moves, depth of field. So like 3D planes is the big thing for After Effects. Like, can you do parallax and all that stuff? But yeah, breakdowns. All right, great. Next slide. Next slide. Somehow. Okay.
So, with all of that in mind, GIFs. All of you say GIFs, right? Okay, everyone nod. Okay, thank you. Don't make fun of me for saying things wrong. Okay. GIFs are an awesome and super fast way to showcase all your animations if you are in the business of making things move. Say that you have this grid format on your portfolio with all these GIFs on the front page. That means that you get more chances again to catch the recruiter's eye of a particular GIF. So we recommend EasyGIF.com, which is a very free online website where you can crop, cut, and compress GIFs. All the tools that you need just on this website for free. We love it. Please sponsor us.
And then the final thing that we're going to touch upon in terms of like portfolio, resume, et cetera, is the production assistant role. That if you are going to apply for it, understand that every studio views the PA position differently. Some studios are like, everybody has to go through a PA before they get to whatever else they want to do. And some are like, I only want to hire PAs that eventually want to be a line producer. I don't know, I don't care what your own ambitions are, but if you are going to apply for it to get the best opportunity to actually interview or land the job, I would say cater your resume to the position, right? Because what is the job itself? You're taking notes, you're organizing files, you're scheduling meetings, right? So how do you put experience that can be relevant to those tasks on your resume? Maybe you had a desk job where you had to help your boss organize their paper documents into a database online. I don't know, but that is very relevant experience for the PA position. You want to frame your experience correctly, right? Because I could say, hey, I directed this student film. Or I could say, hey, I produced my own short film and I was responsible for all of these things, including production management. I was scheduling weekly check-ins with my team. I created the production schedule and uploaded the assets on ShotGrid, which is a production software. And I wrote down notes and handed out those notes to my team. So all of that is still, I directed this short, but it's creating the relevant experience specifically for production. And if you're applying to something else like character design, you can again use that same project and just reframe it so that you're using those, you know, vocabulary that recruiters are going to look for when they're checking resumes.
So, for the love of all things animated, please, 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 please include your email. I am begging you from the bottom of my heart. Always double check that your portfolio has your email in an easily accessible place, and that when you're submitting a job application, that you double check you entered your email correctly. That is the key part to me contacting you. So if you have a Twitter, you put your email right in the bio, okay? You got an Instagram? Same thing. It doesn't change. It's still in the bio. Behance, right under your name. Tumblr, yes, if you can use Tumblr for your website. That is totally cool. You just put it in your blog description and give it to me, please. Website, so you can put it right under your header so that it always shows up under your name no matter what page I am on, so I can always access it very easily. So I love that when you do that for me. And then a video reel, you are not exempt. I want you to put your email in your title card and write in your description so I can copy paste it and I will never make a mistake of entering your email incorrectly. Please. Do you guys see my despair in my eyes right now?
I have assistants that need to do the hunting because, yeah, and
Please,
that makes it hard. That makes it hard for us to, if we're spending time tracking down your email, we're not doing the things we should be doing. So, all right. Cool. So now that you have an easy access portfolio, well curated to the job you want, and an email address that's easy to find, how can you get a studio to notice you? So I want to introduce you to the OG attention grabber. I was directing at Nathan Love when this guy emailed me, Drew Shields, very talented artist. And at the time, I was not hiring anybody. I just don't like unread notifications in my inbox. So I opened that email in order to get rid of that notification. I see that GIF, and I'm like, damn, that's really cool. And then I ended up getting distracted, looking through his portfolio, and I responded to him even though I was really freaking busy. I don't have a job for a look dev artist, right? So he made an impression, and I remembered him. And every couple of months, I'd like, oh, that was a really cool purple GIF ghost. And so I responded. I was like, hey, I don't have a job for you, but keep in touch. Great work. You know, that's it. 6 months later, he emails me again, new GIF, new work on his website. I'm like, oh, amazing. So excited to see it. Great. Still don't have work for you. Another 6 months pass, and at that time, he made his own short film in his free time. And he had animated it, he had composited in After Effects, and he titled his email differently, which was like After Effects Compositor Animator Available for Freelance. And suddenly, my go-to After Effects guy was not available. And I was like, Drew, it's been a year. I've been wanting to work with you. You are the first one I'm going to offer this job to. And then since we hired them multiple times. So that is that, like, keeping in contact with your network, updating your portfolio, and making sure that you send emails out with attention grabbers, right? So you catch, because we receive hundreds of emails all the time. And one way to really break down the emailing studios, if you're going to go that route, the subject line is super important. It includes the position you want. Keywords, think about keywords. And then cover letter is just a really, really simple, you know, what maybe previous work experience, maybe why you want to work at the studio. Don't worry too much about it. And then link to the portfolio, which is important, and your attention grabber. I would just say, like, if not a GIF, maybe 1 or 2 images, just don't upload your entire portfolio. The sample subject line is important because you want to think about easily searchable keywords. So the job titles you want: character designer, episodic director, background painter. Because we get emails that kind of look like this all the time with no portfolio, with a very generic subject line that I cannot for the life of me find again, even if I tried. But if it has character designer, I'm like, oh, yeah, that character designer with that cool purple GIF ghost, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to find, right? So keywords in the subject line. Yeah, don't send emails like this ever. Even if you're not looking for a job and you just want to interview with somebody, include your portfolio, because that's going to entice them to say, oh, I see potential. I'm going to reach out. And if you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, don't ask if you can share your portfolio, like especially if you're shooting your one shot in your InMail credit or that connection. Just do it, right? Share your portfolio, say I'd love to do this, and that. Because I will connect with people. I'm like, yes, I see potential in you. I want to stay connected with you, versus just generic connections, which I get like 5,000 of them.
All right, spam filters. So unfortunately, our .NET email sometimes trigger your email provider, like your email domain's spam filter, especially our recruiting at timmouse.net email. So please take a moment out of your day to whitelist us and just the timmouse.net email domain itself, and then any other studios that you are applying to, do the same. You can Google it. It's really simple and fast, and you don't want to ever lose out on a job offer because it got sent to your spam email.
Yes, it was very sad. I got an email this morning that was like, oh, like 3 months late. Oh. It's like, oh. Anyway, okay. Cool. Attention grabbers are also usable on Twitter. So sometimes you might see posts like this from directors or producers or recruiters on Twitter saying, we're hiring. And just know that if you post your stuff on those threads, that other studios are looking at them. So make the most out of those opportunities. These are the people that posted without an attention grabber. And these are the people that did. So you can upload 4 images. It comes up as a nice little gallery. They all have their website, their email, what they do. This person, Katrin, has a video actually where she scaled down 4 projects and rendered out a single video, and it kind of mimics that gallery view. And again, 4 chances to catch a recruiter's eye instead of just 1. And yeah.
So if you have an actual website like a Squarespace or a Wix, you can go into your settings and add an image in the Usually it's under like social media settings. And then when you share your website link on like various social media platforms, you will get an image to pop up as like the preview to your artwork. So you can see how this becomes an attention grabber, right? Because this artist doesn't have a preview of their artwork. I'm just like, oh, it's empty and it's blank, and I don't know what you do. So please do that for us. And then if you're applying to our website, you might see a form that looks like this. This is a third-party software called Lever. BenzoBox also uses this platform for their job applications. You can see kind of at the bottom, I believe right here, there's like this box called Current Company. If you genuinely have work experience at Animation Relevant Studios, you can respond to this in ways like previously a Titmouse intern or previously a Nickelodeon intern. Or you can also highlight animation nonprofit work like Rise Up Animation Volunteer or recent graduate like at CalArts or something, right? These titles are much more animation relevant than Starbucks or Target. So you could be currently working at Starbucks, but if you were a previous Titmouse intern, we would prefer that you highlight previously Titmouse intern over Starbucks.
All right, LinkedIn, everybody should be using it. There are two ways that you should be utilizing LinkedIn. As social media that you might use in Instagram or Twitter, and as a searchable keyword resume. So social media are like, LinkedIn's algorithm's really, really good. It doesn't like squash you the way Instagram does. So utilize that. These are two examples of people that just posted their work, hashtagged it, and they got hired because of it. I literally hired them because of this popped up on my LinkedIn. So make sure that you're sharing your artwork as you update everything. And then the other thing is I want you to go to your profile, click the first pencil icon, and make sure that your headline has the job title you actually want, and then your contact information has your website and your email down here, and then go to your About section and update that so that your website and your email is right at the top. Because what we're doing is we have this fancy platform called LinkedIn Recruiter, and we search everything through that platform. And we don't get your public profile, so we don't see your featured posts. If that's how you're like, that is how I'm showcasing, my work and nothing else, then we won't see it in LinkedIn Recruiter. This is how your profile shows up. So you have your email if you updated it into your info, you have your email, website and email in your About Me section, and then at the bottom of that section you have your website if you've included it in the contact info. So make sure that you showcase that, because again, there are some people that don't have their email anywhere, don't have a website, and don't check in their LinkedIn messages. So it's been impossible to reach them. And then the other thing too is about framing your experience correctly, right? Because we are searching keywords. If I'm looking for a background designer, I can't just say designer. Because if I search designer, I get UX designers, I get graphic designers, I get fashion designers. So I'm specifically searching background designer. So you wanna, again, specify your experience in your job title. So these are examples of good job title descriptions that people have put that allow them to be popping up when I'm searching things. 2D Harmony animator, character designer, background artist, effects animator, right? So the bolds are connected to the keywords that I'm searching, and that's how they come up. Yes. All right. I know how hard it is to job hunt. Believe me, we've all been there. But regardless of where you are in your career, it's important to figure out your goals. So once you have your goal, you can kind of break it down into little steps and like make sure that you achieve them along the way. It's okay if your goals change, as is evident of me. Mine have changed so many times and will continue to change likely. But make sure that every step you go that you are catering your stuff and rebranding your portfolio. Yeah.
So breaking in is hard, but once your skill and your portfolio is there, all that is left is timing and getting your name out there. It can take anywhere from 6 months to maybe even 3 years to break in. And if you're not getting work, make sure that you're updating your portfolio every 3 to 6 months with at least one high quality project. So at least a project that is relevant to the jobs that you want to be getting. So follow up with your contacts every 6 months, especially have that significant update on your portfolio and let them know, like, hey, I made a new thing. You should come check it out and take a peek at my portfolio again.
And in the wise words of The Undertaker, the toes you step on the way to the top are connected to the asses you're going to have to kiss on the way back down, and that is just to say, be nice, because you want to network, and it's scary to network with producers and recruiters and directors, but you also want to keep in mind the people next to you, the artists that are up and coming alongside you, because those are the connections that will eventually, like, hey, have you worked with this person? Oh yeah, that guy's great. Or no, that guy's an asshole, right? Like, those are the things that will constantly affect your hireability. Even if you make it to the director level, the supervising director level, we still do background checks, because nobody wants to work with an asshole. So here are our socials, and titmouse.net careers is where you can find our official job postings. And sometimes Judy or I will post on Twitter kind of like, we're hiring here, just a little notice. But yeah, I hope you guys had learned a lot today. And if you have any questions, we are happy to take those now. Yay, okay, hi.
Okay, so I want to go back real quick to what you were talking about tagging.
Yeah.
So when we're posting stuff on LinkedIn or Twitter, we were talking about using hashtags. You look through those hashtags. I guess my question was, like, we shouldn't tag you guys, right? Like,
Oh yeah, dude.
how does that? You're just going off of the tags. You're just going off of the hashtag character designer, hashtag editor, and you will find us.
Yes. Yeah, don't tag us in social posts, please. Don't do that. I think the hashtags is helping you land in the right bubble that eventually people will search through. Yeah.
Also, there has been a time where I've been looking on effects animators on Twitter, and like I just found a person who was at the top because they tagged all their posts correctly, and like we hired them. Like he got a job through Twitter. So please tag things correctly and nicely. Thank you. 2D effects. So for that position, it was like 2D effects, effects animator, character designer, background designer, storyboard artist, 2D animation, so on and so forth.
Yeah. In the corner, that side. Okay. You can Google Speaker Deck. And usually these platforms is like you upload a bunch of like individual images of each board. And it'll give you like a link that you can embed into your website. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I will just say, like, take any advice you get from anybody, including ours, with a grain of salt, because it could be not relevant in a different studio environment. But so for me, if I'm really, really looking for work, I'm going to gear my stuff towards the stuff I'm applying to, right? So if I know Avatar is coming up, I'm going to gear Avatar styles because that's the style they're going to be looking for. Your own personal style, it's really like person to person. Like some people's personal styles, like Jake Wyatt, like, yeah, do your personal style and everybody will want you for that personal style. And there's some personal styles that are like, I can't see a place for this, or it's too complicated or not appealing for, general mainstream media. So it's you can't really tell people, like it's so situational. But when we look for viz dev artists, and concept artists and people that set the tone for a show, we are looking for a unique personal voice. I can't tell you if that voice is good or not, right? You know, because it's so subjective. But that is kind of the difference versus like if you're being hired to work on a production, you need to match that style. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
So if you're applying for a production assistant job, let's say like you're sending stuff through LinkedIn to like message recruiters, because you said for our portfolios that where you said like don't ask for permission, just send your portfolio. You say the same thing you said for resume and cover letters for PA positions as well?
Yeah. I think with LinkedIn, if you're going to use that, link to a website resume instead of like uploading an attachment. But yeah, that's totally fine to just send your resume that way.
Okay, so you said to send a link to a website that has the resume?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, because like if you're applying for PA positions, but you have some art stuff on your website, because I don't want to confuse, be like, because I feel like sometimes there's that like stigma of like, oh, like they're applying for PA, but they want to
Right.
be artists because they have art on their website.
I mean, you can control the page itself, right? So you can make a page that doesn't link to any of your other pages, or I like to say that you have 3 focuses, like choose 3. If you don't know what you want to do yet, choose 3. And sometimes your artistic background is going to be useful because sometimes it's going to be like, we want a storyboard PA that knows how to use Storyboard Pro, or we want a design PA that understands the process, right? So again, you can't account for whether or not the person hiring is going to detract or add points for having that history. But if you make a page specifically for production management and you make all your points like like gear it towards the position, then you can't be faulted for having other skills. Yes. I think they recorded it. Yes. So it will be on the Lightbox. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, when you're making a portfolio, do you recommend including your best work or what you're capable of? So like, I know a lot of people include their best work because that's like the highest they can go, but then they get the job and they might not be able to do that all the time.
Aw.
Yeah, sorry.
I think that's a subjective question again. And like depends on what your goals are. Like I've known people that could do water sim and they put that on their website and then they just got hired for water sim and they're like, I don't fucking want to do water sim anymore. And so they removed it from their website. So really like gear it to what you want to do. Whether that's your best work or what you're capable of, I don't know, but yeah. I think it's more, I think for artistic roles, we just focus on the storyboard samples. Yeah. I think it's like, we look at the resume, it's like, oh, this person has a title of storyboard revisionist, but they want to be a storyboard artist. Check their resume to see what projects they've been working on. And then, okay, it seems like they have enough experience to be a storyboard artist. Yes?
Kind of going off that question, so for the storyboard artist who doesn't have work experience just yet, let's say they are looking for a story revisionist role or a beginning storyboard artist role, what would you recommend putting on the resume?
Don't focus on the resume. Focus on making a really good portfolio. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Half the times we don't check the resume. Yes.
Going off of storyboard samples, I've heard a lot of different things recommended specifically for Stick Mouse. Would it be good to, what kind of like samples would you be looking for in terms of like action or drama or like talking to each other? Like, I know a lot of people have so many different things to say on how long it should be, and you were talking about like the lengths of them, but what kind of different scenes do you think are most sought after?
I would, I feel like most of the really experienced directors will click 5 images into your board sample and you're like, yep, this guy could do it. Yeah. so, again, gear it towards what you want to apply for. And let's say that your portfolio only has action fight samples and you're applying to a job that says adult comedy. Understand that you might not get chosen for that, or you don't have a high chance of being chosen for it because you don't have adult comedy samples. And I know, like, when you're looking for work and you don't have work, it's so like tempting to like, I got to do everything so I have the best chance to like land a job, right? But it's not that. It's like, focus on the thing you're passionate about and you really, really want to do. And don't let anybody tell you that we can't do anime. Okay? um,
So, just going off of that, would you say like a variety is important then?
if variety is your goal,
Okay, thank you. That answers.
yes. Yes.
Thank you for bringing up editorial work. If we're doing stuff in Premiere and then we also like painting and storyboard pro, are there any other programs that you would suggest to get familiar with if we're interested in a career in editing?
I think those are the two things. Magic Bullet Looks or something like that is the color editing like add-on that you would get for Premiere. And so like if you want to be a full-fledged editor, eventually you'll have to do a little bit of color correction, things like that, and that would be part of it too. Get familiar with like cutting up animation, maybe even moving things like a car animates across the screen in Premiere, like things like that in Premiere. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can I have examples in my portfolio of color design and background painting? Would it be better to have those in the scrolls that like showcase the skills because it's in the skills, or have them in tabs that are like different?
You're asking if you should separate color design with background painting? Yeah, I would suggest that. Yeah. They're very similar but slightly different. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other? Yes.
What experience would you say helped you become an artistic recruiter?
Good question.
Maybe I can talk about this a bit because I came into the recruiting intern, and recruiting is very similar, or at least in terms of like soft skills and the daily skills that you need. It's a lot of like organizational skills, a lot of like knowing how to manage your email inbox or like schedule interviews and like network with people. A lot of that is also similar from recruiting and production. For me, when I was applying to the recruiting intern position, I was a administrative assistant at like this writing center for my school, and I had learned about like organizing events. I had learned how to like talk with, I guess, like adults and stuff, right? Like the important people, and like how to like, be nice to parents and not like be like, hey, please stop yelling at me. Because we work with kids, and I worked with a lot of parents basically. And then it was also like spreadsheets. There's so many spreadsheets. I was looking at numbers all the time, and it was so many numbers. And a lot of those skills I got as an administrative assistant translated over to recruiting, because here we also do a bunch of spreadsheets and emails and all that stuff. And I would say it's pretty also kind of similar to production. It's a lot of like, those organizational skills, and then a lot of like note taking as well, and just kind of staying on top of things is really, really key. So any job or past experience, it doesn't have to be a job, it could be like volunteer work at like maybe WIA or something, right? Or any managing or administrative position, those really work well with production.
Yeah, I mean, like with Judy, she, for fun, likes to color code her schedule and calendar and do that for her friends.
Yo,
so it's like if like,
I got 20 Google calendars on my phone right now. It's so color coded, like y'all are not even imagine.
And the difference between recruiting and production is like production, you're not public facing. You're working with the team. You're kind of like a shit taker because you have like client angry and maybe artists angry or sad, and you have to like manage all this and like make everything and keep things moving on, and you're not like front facing. So there's a lot of organizational skills and things that overlap, but then with recruiting, it's like you don't necessarily deal with any of that stuff, but you get to like talk with a lot of people. You get to like talk with young, bright-eyed students and be more social and connect with people all the time, go to these events, while also spreadsheets and calendars and et cetera. So kind of two similar, but you know, adjacent paths if you're thinking about production and stuff. Yeah. Cool. Yes.
I was just wondering, do you have like an outlook, whether it's good or bad, to include like stuff in your portfolio that's based on an IP that isn't yours? Is that like a big no-no, or is it like okay as long as it's competitive? Because I've seen like multiple different things in the industry about this.
So wait, repeat the question.
So like if you made like maybe character designs for a show that you didn't work on, or like if you made storyboards of like written like a book or a play, like would that be okay, or is that a big no?
No, yeah, that's fine. So things I always like, I would recommend, like I've seen portfolios where people create their own OC for Star Trek Lower Decks, and they make a turnaround, and it all looks like almost professional artwork, and then you get hired. You know, like, so it's totally fine. It's just important to label it clearly that it's like personal project, not official artwork of the project, of the show or whatever. And yeah, just give credit to where it's due. Yeah, the thing that you shouldn't do is like weird, smutty fan art of a children's property and putting that on your, like just avoid things like that. You know, like that's the weird fan art that you don't want to put. But if it's professional assignment gear, then it's fine. Yes. If you're under NDA, so if you worked on a show that has not been released, you got to protect your own ass with a password so that it's not public. But if you have a password protected page, then make sure when you're applying to us or emailing to us, you include that password. Keep it simple. Use one password for everything, and try not to change it around. Because I know recruiters that don't have time to reach out to you, say, hey, but this password's broken. You know, so just keep that simple. Yeah, does that make sense?
I have also seen people do it where they put all their private work into a Google Drive, and then in that Google Drive, they have like a document with a link to the website as well and all the other stuff that they need and their contact information too, and then they just give us that Google Drive link, and it's very straightforward and clear. I'm like, okay, these are your NDA samples, and I still have access to your website if I need it. So that's also another pathway that you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope that was helpful. Yeah.